This is the Convene podcast. Welcome to a special episode of the Convene Talk. This time we are actually recording afterwards, so to say, and we're reflecting on the digital experience with two of our editors. My name is Magdalena Tanasova, Digital Media Editor at Convene. So Michelle and Casey, you watched online and you're part of the digital experience this time. Can you share what made an impression on you?
Sure. This is Casey Gale, Managing Editor. This is my fourth digital experience with Convening Leaders, and I thought it was a really great program this year. I thought they had a really diverse amount of sessions to choose from online, all different topics with a lot of diverse speakers, so that was great. I would say one of the standout sessions for me was facilitating curated event experiences, how thinking small delivers big returns. That was just about 20 different ideas to kind of make big events feel small and feel personal and make attendees feel like they're getting special attention, even in a huge convention center. And I thought it was just filled with a lot of really great ideas and takeaways that were easy to implement and that people could just go back to their office and start doing right away. So I love that.
I like that you said that, because the session I listened to last night was this is Michelle Russell, Editor-in-Chief. It was the opposite of that. I felt like it was all about one thing. I don't want to name the session. It was all about one thing, which was, whether you should do something to create more innovation at your event. But then there were no examples of the innovation at the event. And there were, even in the chat, like 4 people asked us, can you give us some examples of what you did to make your event more innovative? So to me, the fact that what you really liked about that session and what resonated was that they were actual examples. And I think that is the most important thing. We talk about this when we talk about writing an article or why we would even pursue a topic, is you have to give people concrete examples, because that's how we learn.
Exactly. And the session I'm talking about was led by Kimberly Hardcastle-Geddes, who contributes to Convene regularly from MDG. And she took a lot of examples from what their clients have done, as well as just other big industry events. So she had pictures, and it was really easy to understand how to implement this at other events. There was another that stood out to me: Navigating the Unthinkable, a holistic approach to mitigating risk and responding to event threats. This was a panel, and they had 2 representatives from RIMS there who talked about an active shooter situation that they dealt with, while they were also holding an event in Atlanta the same time Taylor Swift was in town. This is something we wrote about in Convene already. But I just loved that they were able to bring a real case study example to the session and walk through the steps of how they handled it and what they would do to even further improve that plan in the future. I thought that was really helpful for attendees.
I think you had more of an experience than I did, just because this is the first Convening Leaders I've missed in 20 years at PCMA, and for a good reason. But so I kind of like popped in and out. And I loved hearing like the general session, especially with Maya and Bialik today. And it was also informative for me to listen into a couple of sessions. But what it really struck home for me was how much I really missed being on site and seeing everybody. So when I looked at social media or I was watching the videos every day, I recognized so many faces I miss seeing. And I recognized there's so much else happening at Convening Leaders aside from the sessions that I really did feel like a loss. Like I wish I had been there. But I think we've written about this. What we've learned is if you're just looking for content itself, this is a really good way to get to share that. And I like that it was free for online registrants. I don't know how many continue to every day to watch the sessions if the attendance stayed up there. But I think there must be for other people like, oh God, I've watched it now. I've gotten a sense of it. I definitely need to go in person next year, which is what we talked about years ago. It's a really good way to get people to decide to become an in-person registrant. I thought the mashup studio was really good. I just saw one session where one of the speakers was being interviewed. I think it really kind of helps people to connect what's happening at the event. And I like that that's for online participants only. But again, it was just, for me, it was a feeling of missing being there in person.
I do have to highlight one moment that we experienced in the chat that wouldn't have happened on site, or at least not the way we experienced it, was when the Clintons were speaking. Hillary Clinton was asked about being a woman in leadership and how you have to present yourself differently as a woman and what you have to go through. And, you know, she had this amazing quote that was that women have to show up and be perfect and men just have to be men.
Which I loved. I saw that and I love that. I guess that would be like akin to somebody sitting next to you and saying, oh my God, that reminds me of the Barbie movie. The chat is always fun. I think that's a really good feature of the online experience, is just seeing what other people are thinking.
One way that the mashup studio or the online experience was also promoted on site was with a couple of screens nearby the escalators, so that people coming in and out of the different levels could see what was happening, because the recordings are available for those that participated on site as well. So they can rewind something from the mashup studio if they missed it. And I think that was also a nice perk for being on site. Then you could, make the choice between sessions. So if you saw something was live streamed, but you wanted to go to something that wasn't, then you could make the choice and know that you can just, go
watch it later.
Rewind, yeah.
Yeah.
And also, if you want next year to participate and you were registered for the digital experience, then next year, you can do kind of both things at the same time.
It's very loud there. So what's happening?
Now being on site, you have to roll with the punches. And people are excited that this is almost over.
That's great. It looked to me, from like a digital participant, it looked like a great event and people seemed very energized and happy to be together.
Yeah, they sure were. And I believe you could also hear it from the mashup studio. You could hear the buzz at the background, because the mashup studio was also located in a very hot spot where people were just entering, registering, or going in between sessions, so that people could see. Everything was just protected with the glass. There were a few attendees that just popped in and were like, oh, can we understand a bit more of what you're doing here on site and how you're producing this? Some people were very curious about the cameras and the equipment, different people with different interests. So it was nice. Also, in the other two special episodes of the Convening Talk that we have, people can hear the buzz of the background and what's happening, which I believe it's nice.
That is good. I think the mashup studio has almost always been like that in a public space, so that, again, it's a learning opportunity for other attendees. If they are interested in doing something similar at their own event, they could see it in action.
Yeah. Anything else that kind of was good and you want to mention?
I loved that Maya and Bialik talked about listening, the importance of listening, because that happens to be the topic of our next cover story. So I felt like, we're definitely on trend there.
We always are. And there's Kurt making funny things just to
trip you up.
Yeah, just to be part of this Convening Talk as well. He cannot be not a part of it. Well, thank you both for giving a little bit more information about your experiences, digital participants. And I want to thank everyone that followed us throughout these special episodes. And as always, if you enjoyed this episode, subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And until next time.